I think that the internet right now gives us an amazing way to work with young people. I saw this great study that said, 90% of the blogging that goes on is not political, right? And I know that we oftentimes like to think that all the blogging that's going on and what people are reading is political blogs, and that's actually, that's absolutely not true. But what it does show us is that there's ways that we can reach young people by using the internet, by using things like MySpace and other networking facilities that will allow us to talk to young people. And I think it's important that we see that as an opportunity, that I can now not only organize with young people in this country, but I can organize with young people internationally at the click of a button. And it would be really exciting for us to figure out how we use that, in any blog, whether it's a sports blog or, an entertainment blog or, whatever, you will always find these little like chat rooms of political. I mean, Duke has like a political chat room for their basketball team, and that would be a great place to post some things, because a whole lot of people who are never going to go to Daily Kos and they're never going to go to the blogs that we love and use every day are going to go to the Duke basketball team, right, website and check that out. So broadening our outreach with the internet and with the web will give us a great opportunity to, and again, not only to persuade young people, but to hear from young people. And I think that that's another wonderful opportunity that we have, especially with young people of color. We're dealing with a community that now has a political sophistication that wasn't allowed for them to have before 1965, right? So, we're dealing with a group of young people who actually now want to get involved. They're just as cynical as anyone else, and are as sophisticated, electronically and through the internet as any other young person. And so I think that we don't want to get lost in like this whole digital divide idea, because it no longer really truly exists. Between sidekicks, email at work, the internet, you can reach a lot of young people, regardless of their socioeconomic status. I think that leadership development is critical, is absolutely critical, and not only creating a strong organization, but creating a strong movement. We need succession plans. We need to understand that we should want to organize ourselves out of a job and eventually have that problem fixed so we can move on to something else, and not see it as, oh, well, I'll spend my life fighting this, but that I will spend my time, and then it's time for another person to come in with new ideas and new vision and new leadership. So I think that's very, very important when you're looking at building a strong organization. When I was thinking about leadership development, I was really trying to think of like, well, what works, right? And organizations like CPL are amazing because they can whet a young person's appetite, right, for wanting to be developed. And really, as much as we want to talk about what our mentors are doing, we also have to understand that it wasn't the baton's fault that fell, right? But it's the receiver's fault for not accepting that baton. And where young people are in wanting to accept that type of development is very, very important. And when I was thinking about my own history and how I was sort of raised, I guess you could say, when I was growing politically, I attended some amazing and had some amazing fellowships that really let me know this is what I want to do. I have the support to figure that out. But then I had some amazing personal mentors. And when I was thinking about it from that perspective, we go from a program to then a one-on-one mentorship to really have someone that's a sounding board for me. I realized that that's the way our founding fathers were raised, right? I mean, you were sent off to some really smart guy to learn law, right? And you lived in his home and you shared mint juleps or whatever you did, and he told you knowledge and you remembered it, and then you became Thomas Jefferson, right? And that's so important that we understand that it's not only about let's send these young people to an organization to be trained, but that we support these organizations to have the resources to be able to do that follow-up and to be able to do that mentorship. Because there are certain times and certain situations where you're going to need to talk to someone one-on-one, and where you're not only developing the professional side of the leader, but also the personal side of the leader. And I think especially in this work, it is so important that we learn how to balance both, because we lose a lot of people who are like, you know what? I actually want to get married and I want to have a life and I want to go on vacation, and I'm not trying to work 80-hour weeks married to my BlackBerry. And we should be pushing for that because we're progressives, and that's a very progressive way to live, right? And So I think that we need programs that whet people's appetites and that let young people know there's something here for me to learn and I should learn as much of it as possible. And then we also say, okay, you're going to learn this. And then from now until forever, there will be someone there or a few people there who will be able to not only give you advice and listen to you around your professional, but help you become a balanced person and become a person that other people will want to follow. I think a lot of times we have trouble finding leaders because we have this Superman approach to it. And no, we're all human, and that's cool, and that's a good thing. And so how do we balance that and use our humanness to become better leaders? And I think that that's a place in leadership development that we forget, whether it's that our leaders forget their own human, their own human nature when they're trying to talk with us, or that we don't feel comfortable in talking to them about it. And can I just say a quick story? Okay, so I have some amazing mentors, and I started my own nonprofit when I was 19, when I was a sophomore in college. And George Pillsbury, who was part of the Pillsbury family, came on board to mentor me. So I was very blessed from Jump Street, and I've been very blessed to have amazing mentors. One of the things that makes me so sad is that most of my mentors are men. And I think it's very, very important that we're able to work with leaders who are comfortable with building the next generation of leaders. And I don't know if that's the reason why it's hard to find women mentors, or if it's, or if it's something else. But I think it's also very important that especially young women in this field have other women to talk to about this work, because this work, it can be very gender difficult. And I think it is important that we have that. I mean, I've had wonderful mentors. I'm lucky enough to call Harry Belafonte a mentor of mine, who definitely helps me have the balls to say some stuff sometimes, But to be able to sit down with a woman and talk about the feelings that you get when you're going to a rally, or the feelings that you get when you go into a community, and the networks that you want to be supportive, and things like that. The feminization of power, if you will, is very, very important. And I hope to see more women getting involved in leadership development and supporting young women in this process. My biggest piece of advice for entering into a leadership position was actually a piece of advice that I was given by Harry Belafonte. And it was always be honest. Always be honest. You're human. There may be things that you don't want to see on the front page or whatever. But if you're honest, and if your constituency knows who you are, then, and obviously if you're not a horribly evil person, but they'll support you on that, and they'll understand. And I think that a bad example of that, or a very poignant example of that, is Marion Barry, right? And so many people were like, oh, well, how did he get reelected? And I thought the same thing too, until I moved to DC and I started hanging out at 42nd and Benning Road up in Northeast. And what I realized was that he led those people, and they knew who he was. So it wasn't a big deal that he was in this room doing what he was doing. It was a big deal to all of us, but to his community, they were like, yeah, that was Marion Barry. We all had jobs when he was mayor. Right, like I could care less what he does with prostitutes in a hotel room. When he was mayor, we all had jobs, and he was standing up for black people in D.C. So we're going to reelect him, right? And that's the biggest thing about being a leader, is that you don't have to be some Superman. I'm a very normal, average. There's very little exceptional about me. And I think that I have been put in leadership positions because I'm willing to work hard, and I'm honest, and I'm also willing to lead with a whole bunch of people standing next to me. It's not just about, is your name on the marquee? If we wanted to do that, we could all become rock stars and actors. But it's about, can I surround myself with the very, very best? Have them respect me enough to take their input, for them to give their input to me honestly, and for us to move forward as a team. And I think that those two pieces of advice is what I'd give to anyone who thinks that they're about to be in a leadership position. Someone who thinks that they're about to become a leader, the piece of advice that I would give to them is find a community, and then you'll become a leader.